Fritz, when was the last time you used a dropship? Can we pull in some dropship tactica? That's what we're going to explore in this Battletech vlog. And I view dropships. There's a couple of models out there, print and play, scratch built. There's some interesting models or kind of the old school hex map template. Dropships are an important part in Battletech. So if we're looking to do not only this wargaming thing and pull off some tactica, at some point some dropships are going to be involved. How can we pull that into the game? And technically, are you paying the battle value for it? Now, what's interesting about Battletech is you first jump in Game of Armored Combat. You're doing this mech thing, you're totally in. Then you discover, well, Battletech is also about combined arms. We can do just mechs. Certainly they're the king, the focus of the game. But then you start to pull in some tanks and infantry and air support and artillery. And then you start to look and say, well, we could take that a step above because now there's aerial combat. There's space combat. Technically, you could put aside role-playing for a second, but we'll pull that in, RPG. You could pull in where you're doing an invasion. You've got 4 or 5 with the Aerotech rules, dropships full of mechs. You're dropping them into the planet. There could be a space battle to see how many arrive, when, and where. Then when you get to the tabletop itself, deploys, now we're into Battletech. You can also pull in some RPG elements from the role-playing game. Battletech is a huge, huge narrative. Now, within that framework, if we're just talking Game of Armored Combat, the dropships are so rare and so valuable to risk them in actual combat. There'd have to be a very, very good reason. So unlike other sci-fi games where dropships are just common or drop pods dropping you in, my understanding and my experience has been the dropships will land you away and you'll walk your way in. Landing in a hot zone, while it's going to happen, I don't know if they're always used that way. And there's some elements, of course, where you might not fire on the dropships. They're kind of neutral territory, or much like a mobile HQ, a lot would put in to being captured. So what that sees in the narrative itself, the ways that I've played with dropships, because being a miniature wargamer enthusiast, the more miniatures that I can have, the more miniatures we can do, the better. We've played where a dropship is a static occupier on the hex map. That model is there. It represents mechs can go in and out, but it's kind of just decorative only. It's based of a scenario. A dropship has landed. It's broken down. It's not working. One side is trying to fix it, get some mechs back to defend it. Another side is trying to capture it. Both sides are not going to fire on this piece of valuable tech. Another way to play it is to give it a little bit more life. If you look at the tech manuals, ranging from the Leopard to the Overlord, they have stats. They have guns. They have lasers. They have missiles. So certainly you could pull in some rules where you'd work out the battle value and say the dropship landed can defend itself. It can fire at other targets at the attacker. Maybe you build into the rules of a custom scenario, the attacker is not even going to fire on the dropship because they don't even want to risk it. They'll eat that fire. And then likewise, we have played sometimes where I've had a dropship, you have a dropship, we both land on opposite sides of the hex map for whatever reason. It's kind of like a mini base. And now our mechs skirmish on the middle hex map. We link 3 hex maps. Skirmish in the middle. You could go into your opponent's area and face the dropship or stay away from it. So kind of this castle type base, ways to play that way. But generally speaking, in the games of Battletech that I've played, and then opening up to my fellow Battletech enthusiasts, mech warriors, mech commanders, the dropship is more in the narrative. Physical pieces do exist, stats do exist, and we've done a little bit of dropship combat on the way down, getting to the planet with the Aerotech rules. But on the tabletop itself, while the profile is there, I don't think it's something that you will regularly encounter all the time. But it's there in the narrative. You've got to get down to the surface in some way. And of course, then you've got to get back up. And the dropship itself, depending on the size, if it's the Overlord class, you're going to have limited repair facilities. You're going to have logistics. You're going to have support. It is very much a part of warfare in Battletech.